like our
So,
Father.
to continue on the thread that we have with the video here, we started talking about 119. So we started talking about it, and we got up to 4 words, and then you guys showed up, so we went back and readdressed it. And then we got up to 2 words. So if I readdress it again, we're never going to get through it. So unfortunately, you guys will be a little bit in the hole.
Get the DVD, right?
But I'll tell you a little bit, just to bring you up to what we're doing with this. Psalms 119, David is the first person that we know of who's ever studied the scripture. Moses wrote it, other people were supposed to regard it, hear it, but I don't know that there's any record that anybody had it to where they could study and analyze word for word, letter by letter, but apparently David was doing that. Since the days of David, the kings were supposed to write a copy of it in their own hand, but maybe Solomon did, but these other kings we have record of just completely lost track of the whole thing as if they never did. And the Torah scroll actually got so lost that when somebody found it, they were going like, what in the world is this? Should we pay attention to these words? What's this talking about? And it was news to them. It was a total surprise, which is to say nobody had really kept up with it. And then Israel got destroyed. Ezra brought back, apparently, a Torah scroll that they'd found in Babylon somewhere, so it was something that maybe Nebuchadnezzar took with him, and Daniel was messing with it, or doing something with it. He was told to hide the words and seal the book. So if Daniel was told to hide the words, shortly after the days of Daniel, who was about 500 BC, around 300 BC, you have the Greeks coming in and changing everything into the Greek language, and then you have Roman, which is Greek language with Latin and all this other stuff happening around the days of Yeshua, and Aramaic, and Hebrew has become this lost language, kind of, sort of, until nowadays. And up until nowadays, up until just a few hundred years ago, it was illegal to have the scriptures in English. In fact, I had heard that it was illegal to even say the Lord's Prayer in English. And Tyndale tried to translate the scriptures into English and was chased down by an assassin and killed, I think it was King Henry VIII, for just daring to pollute the sacred text with the foul English tongue. 1611, you got King James, and so that made it more popular, the Gutenberg printing press. But even still, a lot of people don't know what to make of this, and even the Catholic Church says, don't waste your time, you'll go insane. Leave it to the priests. They're sanctioned, they're gifted, they're the dispensers of the graces. So literally up until now, not many people who have ever walked the face of the earth have ever had access to the scriptures, much less the Hebrew, to actually analyze it. But David did, and that's what we're doing. So we have some league or affinity with David, unlike most people that have ever walked the earth. So when David says in verse 18 of Psalms 119, open my eyes that I may perceive the wonders of your Torah, he's not asking to understand the historical narrative. That's obvious. It's the story of the creation, Noah's flood, the Tower of Babel, the history of the family, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Exodus. That's the Torah. So what was David asking to see? Do you have any idea what he might have been asking to see?
Maybe the depth of the meaning.
What would make him think there's any depth of meaning? Because if nobody had discovered any depth of meaning, much less hardly even read the book before David, what makes him think there's any depth of meaning? Here, for example, I'm going to write a foreign language on the board here. It's a cuneiform word. I have no idea what it is, but the cuneiform letters look like nails. What's the depth of meaning? What's the surface meaning? What do you mean besides the depth of meaning?
Really, yeah.
Why should I think there's any depth of meaning? So now we're a little too smart for this question, right? Because we're talking about hidden meaning. So we think, oh, well, maybe David's looking for hidden. Well, that's what he's asking for. What's the hidden meaning? But what I'm saying is, what would even make him think there is one? So in Hebrew, there's no record that I've ever heard of that anybody before Ezra had the modern Hebrew. But certainly there's record that there's Paleo-Hebrew. So there's different forms of Paleo-Hebrew. Jeff Benner writes the Aleph that looks like that. I write it to look like that. Okay. That is there, that's an ox head. There's kind of a similarity. What's the depth of meaning? You could say, well, the depth of meaning is the fact that an ox is strong. So not only does the word Aleph mean ox, but an ox is strong, so maybe the hidden meaning is talking about strength. But this also kind of looks like an arrow. And an arrow is something that you shoot or launch. An ox is somebody that you yoke up and set launch to pull the plow. So perhaps the hidden meaning is an ox is, an Aleph is like an arrow, something you shoot out and send in motion. Your offspring, Khalil Gibran wrote this famous poetry about your offspring being arrows that you shoot into the future. Are they Alephs? Of a sort. So what is David actually asking for when he says, open my eyes that I may perceive the wonders of the Torah? Okay, then what we talked about is saying, did Yahweh say, no way, David, there's nothing there for you to see, just pay attention to what it says on the surface? It's like, oh, okay, sorry, okay, never mind. Or did Yahweh say, sure, I'll show you what's in there? And let's suggest that there was something that David did find, it was enlightened to him. Would David think, this is so special, I can't tell anybody else? This is secret treasures. I need to take them with me to my grave.
No.
Or did he say, this is so much of a treasure, I need to do something with it to hide it so that the bad guys don't get it, but it needs to be so obvious and available to my offspring that I hand them for posterity, generation to generation, handed down the treasures of the kingdom, of the benefits of knowing Yahuwah through the instructions of his Torah. And if David wanted to do that, where would he hide it? If you were David and you were given this great treasure, where would you hide it?
Maybe in the temple.
In the temple?
Maybe.
The temple wasn't built yet.
Oh, that's right, the temple.
Solomon built the
All right,
temple.
where would I hide it?
How about under the roots of that tree? Well, wait a minute, we're 3,000 years later. That wouldn't have done any good. Where would you hide a treasure that you wanted your offspring to find?
Good question.
Would you hide it in plain sight?
Where?
Sort of encrypted?
Where?
In the words?
Which
In the
words?
song?
Maybe Psalm 1. Did David write Psalm 1? Maybe it's encrypted in there. Let's see. No, wait a minute. We're looking at Psalm 119. What's the difference between 119 and Psalm 1?
The way it's organized.
Okay, so Psalm 119. Do you guys know how Psalm 119 is?
Yeah, so
How is it set up?
isn't each groups of 8 verses that are all...
Why did he do that?
Oh boy, why did he set up the orders of the priesthood and the Levites? And how did he know how to set them up?
So if I say, tell you what, purple things go over here, and red things go over here, why am I doing that?
He's making some kind of order.
Why would he put 8 things together under each of 22 sections?
The orders of the language.
He may have had some type of understanding about numbers, about sequences.
What's the number 8?
Well, traditionally it's eternity.
What's the 8th letter?
I need a chart.
Yeah, there it is.
It is.
We've got
I
it.
can't read it from here.
Right?
Which is a fence. What do you put in a fence?
In a fence, something precious.
Like the goat? Oh, he got out of the
Oh.
fence.
There you
It's not that
go.
precious.
You
Something you
got
want
it.
to guard.
Guarding it.
Okay, so if he's going to guard something, why is there 22 sections? I mean, he chose the alphabet to be a format. Why the alphabet? Why didn't he use numbers? Why didn't he use numbers 1 through 10? We got 10 fingers. Why didn't he make 10 sections? Why should he use 22 sections?
Well, Alfonso might be able to shed light on that.
Alfonso's saying there's 26
He knows the
sections
answer.
though. Why didn't he have 26?
Each letter of the alphabet.
Well, why would he choose the alphabet to be the coded system by which he formatted Psalms 119? In other words, he could have said, there's say 5 or 6 or 7 different animals we're allowed to sacrifice. There's the ox, the sheep, the goat, the dove, at least those 4, right?
Mhm.
So why didn't he have 4 sections and call this one ox and this one sheep and this one? I mean, why did he choose letters by which to encapsulate these things? Why not something else? And I mean,
Well, I mean, in Greek and Latin, the letters are numerical. I mean, they
and
mean
in Hebrew
numbers.
too.
Yes.
So Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3, Dal is 4.
So he's counting with the alphabet, with the
Okay.
alphabet. He's counting, and he had some kind of enlightenment that we don't have. I mean, he grew up speaking that language. Yah's spirit was in him, and so he must have had some kind of understanding about how to arrange these things.
Okay, so the numbers in Hebrew are also letters. So Aleph, the word Aleph literally means ox, but it also means 1,000. It also means 1. It also means to be taught, trained, or domesticated, or yoked together as a team, like as an ox, set of oxen to pull the plow with. All those are meanings of Aleph. So Alfonso was doing a study where he's looking at the Aleph section, 8 verses, and trying to find, is there a general theme which could be extracted from reading or synthesized from reading all these 8 verses? And you came up with
Aleph was walking in Torah.
walking in Torah.
Or
So
walking in his ways, I think it was.
Yes.
the problem with that is that I could look at every other one of the other 22 sections and say the same thing. They all talk about walking in his ways. Aleph section is not exclusively about walking in his ways as opposed to some other concept elucidated by any particular other section.
Correct.
Okay, so I did my own independent study a few times trying to look at things, and as is his, and we happen to come to the same conclusion. In other words, I want to find something about the Aleph words that talk about Aleph, but I can't find it. And whatever he talks about in Aleph seems to be the same thing he talks about the other sections, so that must not be where the mystery is hidden. Where would he hide the mystery in plain sight? So if you were going to hide something in plain sight, how would you do it? And if you were a wordsmith, David's using words. All we have is his words. We don't hear the notes. We don't have the music. All we have is his words. So he had to use the tool, the medium of words, by which to hide it. So he's not going to hide it under the tree. He's going to hide it in the words. So if we look at 22 sections, let's suggest that there's 22 aspects to the mystery. There happens to be 22 letters, so the mystery is somehow keyed to the alphabet. Is this what David found? If he's asking Yah, show me a mystery in your Torah, it might have been a mystery about the sun, moon, and stars. It might have been a mystery about the 7 days of creation. It might have been a mystery about the periodic table of elements, of which there's, what, 120 something or whatever it is, right? 130 something.
He's getting up there now, yeah.
But-
I was 98.
But it's not that. He keyed it to the letters of the alphabet. He could have keyed it to the planets, but he didn't. He keyed it to the letters of the alphabet. So let's cut to that chase and say, what is it about the letters of the alphabet? So, have any of you ever looked at Psalm 119 from the perspective of the letters of the alphabet and tried to find something? Have you done that?
Not really. I know that the pattern is there. There's some pattern he's getting at.
What is the pattern?
I don't know. I mean, it's.
Do you have a Hebrew Bible?
No,
Then you never will know.
I know.
Because he wrote it
I
in
don't even
Hebrew.
have a Bible. Jim, do you have the scripture? I brought food, but I didn't bring the scripture.
Well,
Here's knowledge Tom's scripture.
Nah, that's in
well,
English.
I don't have Hebrew.
Get that thing out of here.
Give the scriptures. version.
Well, here, use my e-source.
No, I.
Oh, here. Just look there.
Which
Okay.
version? Where's the code?
That's English.
Okay. Here, whose is this?
That's
All right.
Yep.
The only pattern I've noticed is the first 8 scriptures, each scripture begins with an Aleph, and the next 8 they begin with a Bey.
So what does that mean?
I don't know, except
There's
that
something about
there's something, it's a pattern. I don't have the full
Okay,
understanding of the line.
So what she's saying is that if you read it in Hebrew, you'll notice that the first letter of the first word of each verse happens to start with the letter of that section. So if I'm going to say, tell me what's in this room using only the letter A, what would we say? Apple, appliance, aviary,
Attitude.
attitude,
Atmosphere.
atmosphere. Okay, now give me a list of things in this room that start with the letter B.
books.
Books, behemoth. That's the animal out there. Yeah. Okay, my point is made.
Sure,
Here's
yeah.
simply that it's just a list that happens to start with those letters. But David is a poet. So therefore, he didn't just give us random words that happen to start the sentences. They're in a specific order. And as it turns out, the first 2 verses start with the word Ashri. So we started talking about what does the word Ashri mean. And to just recap, because this is on the video, the previous tape, Asher is the word that means who. So you start off the sentence saying, who? How does this start reading? What's the first word?
Praiseworthy.
That's not who. Wait a minute. What does your Bible say? What's the first word of the first verse?
Are those whose?
Happy.
Happy. Is it praiseworthy? Is it happy? Or is it who? It's none of those. It's Ashri.
Wow.
But you don't know Ashri because you don't speak Hebrew, so you're obviously, the race has started and you're off the track and in the ditch and upside down and not going, huh? What? And meanwhile, the treasure hunt is being
Where's everybody?
run by pirates who gave us translations to throw us off course. Because the question is, who would be a praiseworthy man? Who would be blessed? And the word Asher also means to walk straight, valid, authentic, confirmed. So it's really maybe saying, if you put all these together, whoever would be happy, whoever would choose to be blessed, should walk straight the authentic path of praiseworthiness. Which is what? The way of Torah. Haderech Kodesh, the sacred walk. And he says it twice. As we were talking about, the word sar is prince. It's also poet and singer and bracelet chain. So you want to explain the correlation of how it is the word sar that we were talking about before? This is what I call finding the common denominator. Sephering. Okay, the word is sar, shin resh. In the dictionary here, you'll see that it means poet, singer, captain, patron, angel, the one who's in charge of, but it's also a bracelet chain. What is it? How did
Well,
we
the first thing
synthesize
was
all
the
together?
3 that I could see a relationship, all 3 exercises, whatever they are, through words, the singer, the poet, the prince, and then we came out, okay, so what's the bracelet has to do, and then we went about those, how'd you call it in English?
The charm bracelet, little
Charm-
tokens?
Yeah, little tokens, actually, which are just the small pieces of a vague memory, let's say, of a trip you did. Okay, and then we reconnect to everything. Words also would be like a pieces, a small pieces of explaining something way bigger. Is that the main idea?
A poet takes a philosophical
Yeah.
concept and turns it into this little rhyme that you go, wow, that's this beautiful, light, quaint, trite little, but it's taking this big matter. An artist will do the same thing. A singer does the same thing. A bracelet chain takes an expensive trip halfway around the world, and you bring back a couple little tokens that you can wear this delicate thing on your wrist, and you go, ah, I remember when we were over there and the sunset and the ships and the, you know, from one little thing. So one little letter, like opening up the door to A, to this whole world of A, or opening up the door to the whole world of B, one little letter is actually a portal into the mysteries of the depth of multidimensional Yahweh's place. Who would be blessed? Walk straight, the true Derek, validated, authenticated. And he says it twice, as if to say, anybody want to get blessed out there? Any of you? Come to the straight path where you'll find happiness and fulfillment as a praiseworthy life of value. So that's what these two words are saying. Now the next word he happens to say, the third verse, is the word Aleph Pei. This word in the dictionary is nose, but it's also anger. And just to go quickly through this, because it's already on the tape, if you put the yod prefix or put a yod suffix, it also means to characterize or nature. And so we mentioned how a motorcyclist, if he looks at the obstruction in the road, like some gravel, he's going to run through the gravel and fall. But if he looks to not the gravel, but to where on the road he wants to go, his nose points, he'll end up over there. You're going to go wherever your nose points. Your nose is almost like this rudder. But the word Aleph Pei is, Aleph is like strong like an ox. Pei is mouth. How is a nose a strong mouth? A mouth is a guidance system, and James talks about the tongue is like a rudder, and it's what's in your heart overflows through your speech. So as you try to process or analyze this word, there's all these different things you can do with it. But the point is, this has to do with aiming. Okay, and I'm trying to go kind of faster to get where we were before. Okay, the next word is Atah, is Aleph Tav Hey, which is simply translated as the word you. Atah means you. But what is Aleph Tav? We just discussed when you guys got here that Aleph Tav is this whole word of the entire alphabet. The primordial, original word that was created and made before anything else was ever made. That's Aleph Tav. Hey means to express or reveal. Hey is this window, this breath, which is to say, when you are characterized by the Aleph Tav being revealed. You want to be praiseworthy? You want to be blessed? Walk straight the path of what? Of characterizing Aleph Tav expressed in you. The next word we were just about to go to is Achli, is Aleph Het Lamed Yod, and we said it means wish. And Chali is where we get the word for challah bread, which is to be sick or to be diseased. But it also means to be pleasant and sweet. So in Hebrew we have one word meaning the opposite. And I forget who it was, but somebody was about to say, was it you that somebody was about to say something about the word Achli, Aleph Het Lamed Yod, when we stopped before?
Don't remember.
This Aleph means, as a prefix, I will, and the Yod as a suffix means my, but not necessarily always. As I was talking to Brady, if we say every time there's a Yod, it means my, meaning the person speaking, that's not necessarily accurate. Sometimes it's referring to the word itself as self-referential. So it's talking about, if this word is wish, or I will wish, or my wish, Het Lamed is sickness, but it's also sweet and pleasant. So how do you put that together? Well, if you're sick, you wish to be healed, But if you're pleasant, you don't wish for sickness, so why would the same word be the opposite? Well, in the word Pesach, not only does it mean to jump over, it means to be lame to where you can't jump over. So the theme of any particular Hebrew word can incorporate one thing and its opposite, and also other aspects around it. Just like if you have a solar system, you have a sun, various planets, and they have various moons, but it's about the solar system. So a word is like a solar system, and though there's other things orbiting around it, they're all in reference to the matter itself, even though there's these other things you can branch off with. Okay, so the word that we're trying to find is kind of like, what's the sun, or the center point, the anchor of the whole system. So achli, the anchor of the system, is kind of wish. So when it says, I will my wish, or I will pleasant sweet, who's the I? There's another way of analyzing words that I'm suggesting, that a very valid way, but not necessarily always, is to say, if we can go back to the alphabet as the key, or as the pattern by which words are encoded, and Aleph starts off meaning I, myself, or me, then it's referring to the author of the alphabet, which happens to be Yahweh, which we talked about before. But does this mean this is Yahweh's wish? Or does this mean it's the person's wish, which means you, in this case, which is the one who chooses to be praised, or the one who chooses to be blessed? This is a deeper analysis, but I'm just showing you some of the trouble with trying to do this. Okay, but let's just keep it simple and say, who would be blessed? You characterize Aleph Tav revealed, my wish, or I will myself make pleasant and sweet. Is he going to satisfy your wish? I will. So Ashri, Ashri, Afata, Akli. The next word is Oz. Aleph, Zion. Running crooked here. The word Aleph Zion means then at that time. Then at what time? The time that you characterize Aleph Tav. If Aleph is an ox and Zion is a weapon, what does this mean? That you kill the ox? So somebody says, reading this paleo is a bunch of mumbo jumbo. What has that got to do with killing the ox? Aleph is an ox, Zion is a weapon. But the word Az literally means then, at that time. So in this case, I'm simply choosing to read the surface level. And if we were going to analyze it by reading other levels of other meanings of letters, we might be able to get more into it. But here, who would be blessed?
The board?
You characterized Aleph Tav, my wish, then at that time, Odeka. Aleph, Vav, Dalet, Kaf. Ode is where we get like ODE, which is the song, which is kind of like the singer of the song, right? An ode is a song or a poem. But it's also where we get AUD, as in audio, which is voice. And the Kaf at the end means your. So this is basically your voice. Then the last word is actually using Aleph Tav as a prefix, et, hook. I'm not sure if there's a vav in there, or if it's just a het. Hook, ki, ka. Hokika. Let me see that real quick. Aleph Tav that's right. Aleph Tav is that which serves as the grammatical pointer, the action of the verb, onto the noun. So your voice is the action of the verb, and the noun is your what? Okay, let's look up Hok, Ika. Now Yahweh at one point says that his Hok, does anybody know that word? You know what it is?
Commandment.
commandment. But weren't the commandments nailed to the cross?
And
So
we're
they got a
not
hole in
land.
Chok, something prescribed, enactment, decree, statute, law, rule, the prescribed portion, and the prescribed due. It's related to the Arabic word spelled H-A-Q or H-A-Q-Q, chachak, meaning justice, truth, necessity, or obligation. Now, we talked about how the het was the fence of the kingdom, meaning if we choose life, we enter into Yah's dominion. And we even say the prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Oh, please make your kingdom appear on earth as it is in heaven. If his kingdom appeared on earth, what should happen? His desire. Everything he wants should happen. Thy kingdom come means your will being done on earth just like it is in heaven. So if we want his kingdom to reign, what should we be doing? His will. If we were doing his will, his kingdom would be here on earth manifesting. So if the Queen of England said, I want all my Britishers to wear little red hats, I'm not wearing no stupid little red hat. Well, I'm not a Britisher. Well, that means her dominion is not here. But if I said, by golly, I'm going to wear that little red hat because I'm going to honor the Queen and say, your will be done right here in the middle of this state, even though I'm not British, I'm actually implementing her desire by simply doing what she said. So if the word chok means the thing prescribed, the decree, the order, the command of law, it also means imitate. In other words, do exactly what he does. Yeshua said, I only do what I see my Father doing and speak what I hear my Father speaking. He's imitating his Father.
Like the song "Do the Hokey Pokey."
Yeah,
Do the hokey pokey.
exactly.
They're imitating, yeah.
You're imitating something. Okay. Huh?
Hope. That's the pun. Hokey pokey, hook. I mean, it's similar,
Oh, yeah.
but it's saying imitate.
Hokey, we could look up, it's either het kuf or hey kuf. We could look up the word hok, and it literally, hokey and pokey are two Hebrew words. One is laugh, and reel and totter, like you're standing on one foot shaking the other one, and you're going, whoa! And it means to publish a new edition, like putting it out there and shaking it. And so the whole thing is Hebrew. Do the whole, that's really what it's all about.
Thank you, Brady.
Wow.
And the piece of Sukkot, we're all going to dance over that.
There you go. You start.
Now what about mitzvot? Mitzvah, as far as to do the thing?
The word matzah, okay, this would be the first day of Hag HaMatzot, right?
Right.
And as we were talking yesterday, the word matzah is not just unleavened bread, it means find out how to do something. And the word zadivav, which is the two center letters, literally are a precept, an order, a command.